This conference will now be recorded.
Hello friends, welcome to bispsolutions.com. My name is Sumit and here I am with my new video in Salesforce integration. And in this video, I am going to demonstrate you how to integrate Salesforce, one Salesforce org to another Salesforce organization using named credentials. There are many ways to log into your Salesforce instances, like using Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. But the topic we are going to cover today is we will be going to see how to log in into Salesforce instance from another Salesforce organization. So we can connect every Salesforce instance and log in using only one Salesforce instance usually. But in this post, we will be going to see that how can we log in to one Salesforce from another using built-in authentication provider from Salesforce. So in this video, I would be using terms like service provider Salesforce instance or authentication provider instances. So we need to, first of all, we need to identify the source organization and the target organization. Source organization from where we would be going to log in, and target organization will be the authenticate user and will act as a where we need to log in, where we need to go after login. So first of all, we need to do one thing. First of all, we need to create a connected app and enable the domain. So let me show you the two Salesforce instances we have. So here I have got two Salesforce instances and I have already logged in into them. This is my first Salesforce instance, and the user for this Salesforce instance is 0612@bisp.com. So let me consider this as a source. This would be considered as a source app, source org, not app, source organization. And in another browser, I have opened my another Salesforce instance, and I will consider it as a target. This would be considered as target org. Unfortunately, the usernames are same. Not username, the user full name is same. Only their credentials are different because I have created two Salesforce instances for myself. So the easiest way to communicate them with each other is using connected app and authorization provider. So first of all, we would be going to create the connected app in the target organization, and we would be setting the authorization provider in the source organization. So this is the target organization, and in this target organization, we will be going to create a connected app. So let's have a look how to create a connected app. And in order to create a connected app, I will go to create apps. Then scroll down to connected apps. Click on new. I'll just create a new connected app named as, let's say, login from Salesforce, login from source Salesforce. Contact email, I'm just providing my mail. Logo, image URL, I'm not providing rest of the details. This is required API enable oath setting, and this oath is very important. And basically oath, we have oath and oath. This oath setting, when we check this oath setting, it helps us to set the callback URL, and this callback URL is one which we are going to call from our Salesforce source app, source org. So here right now I just write HTTP and localhost.com. So whenever we whenever this app will run and whenever we invoke this connected app, this will redirect it to this callback URL. But right now we will be going to change this callback URL, and we will be going to provide the URL for the, we'll be going to provide the URL for source organization here. So I'll just leave this right now, and I select all these available auth scopes and move it on to add. So I'll just give all the permissions and scroll down, click on save. Now once we click on save, this may take 2 to 10 minutes, so have patience, or meanwhile it is configuring the setting, and we can just manage. Meanwhile the final settings will be taking place. We'll go to manage, and I'll just edit my policies, and to make sure this would be all user may self-authorize and enforce or relax IP restrictions. So there would be no IP restrictions. We can access this app from anywhere. So I say relax IP restrictions, and finally click on save. So this process is completed, and let's get back to create apps, connected app, and this connected app is configured successfully. Now we got the consumer key and consumer secret. Now this consumer key and consumer secret we will be going to provide to authorization provider to our Salesforce source organization. This is Salesforce target org. So now let's switch to Salesforce source organization, and here we are going to create authorization provider in source Salesforce instance. So I'll just, to create an authorization provider, we click on security control. In security control, click on authorization provider, and here I create a new authorization provider. Click on new, and authorization is for Salesforce. As you can see, we have authorization provider for couple of applications like Facebook, Genren, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google, GitHub. I'll go with Salesforce. I'll give name as Salesforce org BISP. This consumer key, here we need to provide the consumer key and consumer secret, which we received from our target organization. So from target organization, I copy the consumer key and consumer secret from target org and paste it into authorization provider on source organization. I will leave this endpoint URL as it is, no changes right now. Scroll down, and I look for registration handler, and in registration handler I click on automatically creates a register handler template. So I click on automatically and execute registration as I just give my name, username. So I give my name and click on save. Now once we click on save, it generates some URL Salesforce configuration, some callbacks URL are there, and we have a callback URL. Now this callback URL, we need to, I'll just copy this callback URL from here and paste it into target Salesforce organization connected app callback URL. So now they can communicate with each other using this callback URL and consumer secret and password. This is something like similar when we are configuring when we configure Gmail account for sending and receiving emails, or as a generate cases automatically. So it is like redirecting, and we are giving permissions to them. So I'll just save this, continue. So again, this process may take 2 to 10 minutes to take changes to effect. Meanwhile, I will go to my source organization. That's the source organization, and in this source organization, we need to make a change in this. So basically, we are almost here, but there is one problem. That problem is when someone tries to log in from the source instance, how he will be going to know that, how he'll be going to match that which user from source will source match with the users in target instance, target Salesforce instance. So what we need to do is in our source organization, in our source Salesforce app, we need to create a new field within users. So I'll just switch to users, and I'm going to create a new field over here, a new custom field to track that which user has logged in. So username. So I'll just add a new field. Field is of text type. Data type is text. Next. Field label, and I field label as other Salesforce organization name. I set as 100. Next. Make it visible to everyone. Next again, save it. So now we can see this field from our users form. From a user form, we can go and check this. So I'll just go to manage users, and from users, we can check that field is added here. That field is added, other Salesforce organization. So this field will track which user has logged in, and that would be taken, that would store here. Now we need to make a change in auto-generated registration handler Apex class. So some changes are required. So again, I go to security control and authorization provider. In authorization provider, there is a class, Apex class called registration handler class. We need to customize this class. So I just click on this class name and click on edit, and I'll make the required changes. There are a lot of informations are there, so I just get rid of the default field and these options as well. Okay, before saving this class, before making changes in Apex class, I just wanted to check whether it is connecting or not, or whether the informations are extracting or not. So let's do one thing. I'll use this test initialize organization URL. I copy this and paste it in a new Salesforce, a new instance. So it is asking us to log in, and we are using this as the target of. I just use the credentials and paste my credential here. Provide the password. Click on login. When I click on login, it is asking to access the basic information. So allow it. And you can see as soon as I click on allow, we are getting the details of this information. So it is simply displaying the information of the page. So it means we are on right track, and we can simply invoke the authorization callback from source to target. Now I'm going to make a change in this handler class, and our job is to store or populate every user record so that we should be able to match it. So I just edit it. I'll just get back to the class, edit it, and I'll just remove the existing details I have, because I'm not going to use them. And also in create user ID, I just remove everything. This also I leave it as blank. I'm not updating anything, so it's a blank. And here I write user U is equal to select ID from user where field name. So the field which we have created in users object. So in user objects, the field we have created the custom field we have created the other user say other Salesforce or username underscore underscore C. That name I provide here. That's the field name equal to data dot user name, and it will return you. So this method will be executed only first time so that Salesforce can relate to users. And finally, I just saved it. Now, I wanted to add a Salesforce button on login page. So while we would be login, using the when we try to log in through the URL, so we need to provide domain for that, and I would be using domain for login onto it. So basically, we'll get back to source. In source, we have domain management, and I'm going to register my new domain, and I write as BISP source. That's my source domain. I'm on source now, so I'll just give name as BISP source org and check availability. So the domain will be https bisp source org -dev -ed.my.salesforce.com, and I register this domain. And meanwhile, this domain registering process is going on. I will go to target Salesforce org and register over there as well. So here also domain management, my domain, and I register here as well. So I register a domain for this account as well. So let me log in. That's a target org, and I just log in. And I just register. So BISP target org. Check its availability. Take some time, and meanwhile it is registering, we have to wait, because once it registered, then we would be going to add a login button on this domain. And this domain, when we access this domain, it will ask for a login button, and will be try to log in using target. We provide details. We'll provide our login. Will be logging using target org, but it will redirect us to the source organization. So yeah, so these are two instances. I'll show you both the instances side by side here. And in this case here, this is my source. That's my target Salesforce org. And here we are registering a domain. So the domain URL for the source is bisp source org dev ed.mysalesforce.com, and for target is this one. And when we visit this domain, it will provide a login button, and clicking on that login button, it will redirect us to this target org, and this target org will revert back to this source organization. So this is like try to log in into source organization from the target organization. So we need to wait it. It's not necessary to register domain for target, but I just register it just in case in future if you are going to use it. But only for this purpose, you will be requiring domain registration only for source, not for target. So registration process is going on, and this will take Sometimes it may take long time.
This conference will now be recorded.
So you can see the domain registration has been completed, and that's my domain registration. And it's ready to use. Now I need to deploy this to all users. So I need to log in into this domain. So I'll click on login, and we successfully logged in, and you can see the URL has changed now. That's the URL. And I just click on deploy to users. So this domain will be deployed to all users. Now I click on edit authentication configuration. And here in authentication service, we are getting Salesforce or BISP. So that's the authorization provider we have created. So I just check this option. So now when we visit this domain, it will ask us to log in. It provides a button to log in through Target app, Target Salesforce organization. Click on save. Now let's try to test it. And in order to test it, I'll simply visit the URL. I copy my domain, and in a URL, I'll just open a new browser and HTTPS and the URL. And you see it is asking for login. So either I can log in using my credentials, or I can log in BISP. That's the same which you used to get when you log in using Facebook or Google on various social networking sites. So I can log in into my Salesforce organization using this one. So I click on Salesforce org BISP. So this is taking some time to
This conference will now be recorded.
So as soon as it gets executed, you can see after that it will ask for the verification, and it sends a validation code on my mailbox, because we are trying to log in from other Salesforce org. Although we have given permission, still it is asking for a verification code. So let me provide the verification code, and the verification code is same which I have received in my mailbox. So the verification code is 70719. So I just enter 70719 and click on verify. And as soon as I click on verify, as you can see, I have successfully logged in into my source organization from Target. And if I check the users, if I check my user here, so this is one part we have.
This conference will now be recorded.
So you can see we have successfully logged in into our source using Target. but our requirement is to integrate using named credentials to Salesforce organization integration using named credentials. And what exactly named credential is? Named credential, it specifies the URL of a callout endpoint, and it requires the authentication parameters in one definition. We can simplify the setup of authenticated Apex callout by specifying a named credential as the callout endpoint. So basically, we would be going to provide a name to the endpoint we have specified. And instead of providing the complete URL, we can simply call it as a name. We provide a name, and while calling a name, while using that name in any Apex class, we can extract the data from our source or our target organization details into our source organization details. So now I'm going to create a named credential. Let's have a look how to create a named credentials. And in order to create a named credentials, we'll go to setup. So in here, I would be using I'll go to source one, and in source, I'll go to setup, administrator, security control, and here we have an option called named credentials. And I'm going to configure a new named credential. So I'll click new named credentials. I'll give name as, let's say, Salesforce org, and the URL. So here the URL will be the URL for our here we need to give the URL of our target domain. As I mentioned that we have registered a domain. So I'll go to domain management, domains, or I'll go to my domains. Now here we'll be providing the domain for the URL for our Salesforce domain. So I just copy this URL. I want to redirect over here. So I'll just provide the URL. Certificate is not required. Oath to an authentication provider is the Salesforce org BISP, and is pending. And scope. So scope I set as refresh underscore token space full. And rest of the things are same, and make sure that this is checked. Start authentication flow on save. So I click on save, and this process will get start. And it's asking for login again. So I'll just log in here again. Once again, I logged in using here 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I logged in into my target org. Allow. And you see the authentication has been done. Now that's the URL, and there's a named principal as Salesforce org. So this named principal we would be using in our Apex class. So in any Apex class, we can use this named URL to extract the data from our target org into source org. And for example, I'm creating an Apex class here, and I'll show you the code to write. So I'll just develop Apex class, and I'll just create a new Apex class. And here I create a class name as public class test class HTTP request feed request is equal to new. It should be in a constructor. So I write public test class. It should define in a constructor, otherwise it will throw error message for you. New HTTP request, new HTTP request, and feed request dot set endpoint, and we would be using the named credentials for this endpoint. So I just use single quotes, call out, and the name credential we have created. So the name credential, we go to security control, and I'll just check the name credential once again. It was Salesforce_org. I'll just right click and get the name credential. So name credential is Salesforce_org. Salesforce_org. Make sure that you are using name, not the label. So call out Salesforce_org /services/data/version 32.0, or whatever version we are using right now. We are on 42.0, and that's the current version. Feed request dot set method, we are using get method, so it's a REST API, and HTTP is equal to new HTTP, and HTTP response feed response is equal to HTTP dot send feed request. So we'll send a request from source to the target, and we'll get the response from there. And I'll use system.debug to display the message, to show the output. So system.debug feed response dot get body. So basically this will return, this statement would be returning the list of all REST API available in the Salesforce target instance. And let me save it and we'll execute. So you can see this class has been saved successfully, and when we invoke this class, when we run this class, it will execute system.debug message and display the response in, and it stores the response as a debug in and system.debug. So that's the way how we register or how we integrate two Salesforce organization using named credentials in very few lines of code. So that's all in this video. I hope you like this video. This video will be useful for you. If you have some queries, you can post your queries in options. You can post your queries to us directly on our mailboxes or in your comment box. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.